Alright, so we've got another Shudder exclusive film. This time we're going to be talking about the elevator game. Does this go to the top floor or does this sink to the bottom? Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris. Thanks for stopping by and watching my review for the Shudder exclusive film, The Elevator Game. So The Elevator Game follows a group of budding entrepreneurs on the web. They basically just go to these haunted places and do like viral things like the elevator game or like standing in a closet. They go to all these haunted places, Dare to Scare, I think that's what it's called. And so they do all of that and they kind of drum all this stuff up to see if it's real or not. So at the very beginning of the film, we follow Becky, who has been, we later find out a little bit about how she got into her predicament, but she is playing the elevator game to see if she can see the 5th floor girl, which leads to the red area, which basically is like hell in any instance, I would presume. And basically she gets taken. We really don't know like the context behind what happened to her until, like I said, later in the film. But this is kind of, our catalyst that leads us into our very shitty characters that we follow, who are basically all terrible. There's nobody good in this movie. Not only is this not shot well, it looks very, very cheap, very cheap. It's not well acted. Everybody's pretty terrible, and it seems like it's their first roles. And some of the people I did look up, it's their very first movie ever. So, I mean, props to them for starting out and, acting, but this is not good on any front. The only cool thing was the woman's name, I can't remember her name, but she is a contortionist who plays our, like, girl on the 5th floor, and that stuff's pretty cool. She is kind of creepy until you get up close. Let's get into the negatives here because I really don't have any positives. It felt like the movie was so long. This is like 90 minutes. It's like an hour and a half, and it felt like 2 hours plus. I was just like, what are we doing? It's very dull. Nothing really happens. I mean, the only interesting thing, which we talk about for a mere instant, there's an argument between these people, and that's what kind of leads us into finding out what happened to Becky. I won't spoil it here, non-spoiler. There is something that they talk about and discuss fandom, where basically she was a fan of this show, and she was like, hey, if I do this, blah, 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 and this dude promised her fame and fortune and all of this, a very shitty thing, which is a very real world thing when people watch creators or programs and they're like, hey, I want to do that. I'm such a fan of your thing, and they reach out and those people use that power and abuse that power. So that was the only interesting thing they talked about, because that is a very real thing that does happen, and they don't linger on it too long. It's kind of like, hey, we want to make this commentary, but we're not going to dive too deep into it because this is a horror movie about people dying on an elevator, damn it, so let's get into it. Overall, they have this new guy that shows up, Ryan. He shows up and he's like, I'm here to help, you don't have to pay me. And so he pitches the idea of playing the elevator game, and they're like, nah dog, that ain't good, that's boring. We're gonna be sitting in an elevator for 20 minutes and nobody wants to watch that. Do you want to watch that? He's like, nah, I'm already bored. So they end up not doing it, but then somehow the sponsor pulled out and they've got to have a video in a week. Oh my gosh, man. It's like YouTube, like all over. You gotta constantly putting out that content, not making videos that you're passionate about on things that you're passionate about. You gotta put out the content. They rush to get this content out. So they end up doing Ryan's idea. And so they go to the elevator thing, which they're not supposed to be at, of course, generic stock building that we've got going here. So they get in the elevator, they play the elevator game, and I can guess, well, you can guess what happens after that. I think the deep web murder show that I recently covered from Tubi is better than this, because I think the premise itself was a little better than this. I'll link that up below so you can check out that review. Going through Tubi, sometimes Shudder is like a higher bar. Tubi is like, hey, these are the generic bad movies, that are fun to watch, but they're bad. This felt more on that level, and having a streaming service that has had such great stuff like Deadstream and the VHS series and all the things that Shudder does, this just felt like a lost thing. Dario Argento's Glasses came out there last year. So there's been so many good films on Shudder that this was honestly a disappointment, and the fact that they've been hyping this thing up so much, and I just was very disappointed. I was very bored. It's a very boring movie. It's not well acted. It's not well shot. So overall, I highly recommend you just don't watch it. So I guess it really doesn't matter if we spoil the movie, because you're probably not going to watch it anyway, or you already have. So that's pretty much all I've got. Let me know down below. What do you think? Did you watch the elevator game? Have you played the elevator game? Are you now gonna play the elevator game so you can possibly be famous on TikTok or something like that? Like I said, it's a bad movie. We've started this Halloween season off rough, you know. I'm gonna go back to covering my weird, obscure shit that I like, because this is why I don't do this. This is why I don't cover these movies, because they're typically not great. I'd rather cover Hell Comes to Frogtown than the elevator game, but here we are. This is the type of season we're getting into, where I just cover whatever comes on. I want to cover what the populace is watching. So that's all I've got. Thanks for stopping by. Like I said, let me know down below. Did you watch the elevator game? What did you think about the elevator game? Are there any films coming out in October that you're excited to see, that you want me to cover? Oh, I'm out of breath. You know, when I talk negatively about movies, it's just weird. It's like on a different level. I typically am not this negative about movies, but this movie is just fucking bad. So don't watch it. Don't watch it. I'm gonna end this now. I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna link some videos for you at the end. As always, if you like what I do here, consider becoming part of the collective, and I'll talk to you guys in my next review.